So Mark is here with us now, along with Assistant State House Majority Leader Dominick Moreno. Both of you, glad to have you here to talk politics with us. Both of you said to me there was tension there yesterday. So, Mark, let's start with you.
Well, we've heard so much focus about the Republicans needing to come together as a party after all of the squabbling that's been taking place within the Republican Party. But at the convention yesterday, it's clear that there's a lot of discord among Democrats. There was a lot of anger yesterday that even though Bernie Sanders won the delegate count fair and square, he had the majority, a number of the superdelegates have already pledged their support to Hillary Clinton. And that caused some bad feelings, and there was some tension, especially when Michael Bennet was giving his speech. He has publicly supported Hillary Clinton. So the question is, can Democrats come together come November, regardless of whom the candidate may be?
Which is a great question for Dominick Moreno here. That was, I think, unprecedented, right?
I think the Democratic Party always has spirited primaries. We've got two great candidates to choose from, Senator Bernie Sanders and Secretary Hillary Clinton. And I am encouraged by, the new people that Senator Bernie Sanders is bringing in. That's super exciting. And then Secretary Clinton obviously has incredible experience to be ready to be president on day one. So I like our choices, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to unite after the primary is over.
You use the word spirited. A lot of people say divided, and there is a lot of discord, though. Is that... what do you think will come of this, really?
I think you heard a few people say that they're not going to support the Democratic candidate if it's not, their candidate of choice. I think those statements have always been made in the past, though, and I'm really optimistic that we'll be able to unite after November, or after the primary, and we'll be able to really go into November and take on the Republican nominee.
Let's talk about the delegate count coming out of Colorado yesterday. 41 for Sanders, 25 for Clinton. We know there are these 12 superdelegates. We talked about the superdelegate position. Mark, you pointed out to me that people were booing Senator Bennet. You also mentioned that some people were a little antsy when Ken Salazar was out there speaking. What does this mean for our superdelegates?
Yeah, I think for the superdelegates, it shows that there's a lot of grassroots people power behind Senator Bernie Sanders. And, I think folks are very excited, very passionate about him and what he's bringing to the table. I think, our superdelegates are taking that and saying, okay, well, we should be encouraging participation at all levels. We should be welcoming new people in. And so that's partially why we're working on some different things at the state capitol as well, looking at turning back to a presidential primary system rather than a caucus, so that those results, that grassroots support, is actually, honored, and make sure that we have it apparent in our delegate count total.
If you look at Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, not only do they have different philosophies, but there's kind of the establishment and then the anti-establishment. It's an issue that's facing Republicans right now. Do you think, though, that Bernie Sanders supporters really are going to support someone like Hillary Clinton, who's so ingrained in the American political landscape? Because it's individuals like her, individuals such as those Republicans who were kind of establishment, who kind of fell out of the primary, who are causing so much anger. How do you overcome that? Because this is not just differences of opinion. This is just, these are really big ideological differences.
I am optimistic that Secretary Clinton will be able to win them over, especially in light of some of the Republican nominees, right? You have Donald Trump, you have Ted Cruz, who definitely do not share the values of many of the Bernie Sanders supporters. And so I think, given that choice, I think they will come out and they will support Secretary Clinton if she's ultimately the nominee, and make sure that we have a Democratic president going forward.
Should we go forward with a primary? Should we change things up?
I think we should. I think the caucus system is pretty insular. It's very difficult. You start out at the caucus, then you have to go to the congressional district convention, then the state convention. It's a huge time commitment. And if we had a primary system, Colorado we love our mail-in ballots. If we had that, we could then actually make sure that everyone's voice is heard.
And as we all know, Colorado, 1/3 of the voters are Republican, 1/3 are Democrats, but we haven't talked about the independents, about how crucial they can be. So there's perhaps some wiggle room for Democrats and Republicans to switch tickets this time around. How big of a consideration is that? How much discussion is taking place among you and your Democratic colleagues?
Yeah, I think we are always looking for ways to incorporate and involve unaffiliated voters, and that's actually part of this conversation we're having around presidential primary, is how do we allow unaffiliateds to participate in the easiest way into our primary, knowing that they haven't chosen a side, they're not Democrat or Republican, but trying to make it easier for them to participate. Those conversations are happening right now.
So with 1 minute left, what is next for the Democratic Party? What is next for the legislature to try and change things? Do you think it will happen this session?
I do believe it'll happen this session. We did introduce a presidential primary bill last session. Unfortunately, it failed, partially because of the cost of conducting a primary. But I do think it'll be successful this year, because I think you have on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, saying, let's have a more inclusive system, let's move back to a presidential primary, and make sure everyone has the ability to participate.
And then for the party itself, what's next? What should we be watching for?
I think we are going to make sure that we unite after this primary is over. I'm looking forward to the convention in Philadelphia to see what happens there. But we're going to be ready, I think, to take on the Republican nominee in November and really demonstrate why Democrats are on the side of working families.
Dominick Moreno, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate your insight, and we'll be right back.